I've been bamboozled. It's time once again to return to Pokemon Legends Arceus' Land of Hisui because I said so. With it being the anniversary of the Daybreak update, the one and only addition we ever got to the game, I've been thinking about the little quests we were given throughout its course. The storyline mostly served as an epilogue to the events of Legends Arceus because while the characters we met along the way had a fun time at the Unity Festival, the true ending of this game had us face off against Insanity Incarnate before challenging Arceus itself. Daybreak was a nice way of letting us know all of the lovable members of the Diamond and Pearl clans are still alright, and while most missions have us investigating the massive mass outbreaks across the lands of Hisui, there is one odd little side quest in the very middle. For context, I suppose I should remind or inform everyone that we team up with Mai and her Munchlax for most of the story, discovering larger outbreaks of Pokemon across the entire region, starting with Zorua appearing in the Obsidian Fieldlands. While these are the Hisuian variants of the Generation 5 Fox Pokemon we all know and love, they still have the same abilities of creating illusions. We even have a funny little interaction as one of them disguises itself as Munchlax, and even Mai is unable to tell the difference between the two, much to Munchlax's dismay. Though this isn't the last we see of their trickery, because at one point we find Mai and Munchlax outside the Galaxy Team base, where she tells us she's heard a rumor about something connected to the mass outbreaks and asks us to bring 10 mushroom cakes to the secret hollow in the Alabaster Icelands. This is the tricky treat strategy. But it isn't all that difficult because I can just walk right over to the shop a few feet away and buy them pretty easily. And as I made my way to the secret hollow, I was pretty sure I knew exactly what was going on here. Mai walks in shortly after and thanks us for the cakes, telling us she'll catch up with us back at the village. Outside we meet Leon, who tells us that Mai has been looking for us in the village for a while, apparently able to teleport. When we talk to her next, she has no idea of the tricky treat strategy or the mushroom cakes. She does tell us that Irida recently came to her with an odd food related request as well, and even though we don't get a full resolution to this, it's very clear what happened. Obviously some Zorua, possibly even Zoroark, have been playing pranks on us, trying to get some free food. I guess the real tricky treat strategy was to trick me into buying some treats. Though it is really funny and there are some cool little details about this quest. For one thing, we can find out through the Pokédex that mushrooms are a preferred food of Zorua and Zoroark. Also, when we do finally go to the Alabaster Icelands with Mai, she's noticeably bothered by the cold, being a member of the Diamond Clan. Meanwhile, the Mai we met inside the secret hollow had no complaints at all, a hint that it wasn't actually her. I think it was a fun idea for a quest in Pokemon Legends Arceus because I figured we would get something involving these spiteful and baneful foxes at some point, though I had figured that it would be a much more sinister quest. It might have been cool if there was some follow-up with the group of Zorua who had tricked us, or if we saw more characters we knew acting a little strange because they were actually Pokemon in disguise. Especially because Hisui and Zorua and Zoroark ended up becoming some favorites of the games and were heavily used in later material, effectively becoming something like secondary or tertiary mascots for Pokemon Legends Arceus. But if anything, this gives us more canon examples of Zoroark being able to disguise itself as a human and even speak human speech. What exactly I think happened is that Illusion Mai was a Zoroark and Munchlax was a Zorua. One of Zorua's Pokédex entries states that it's able to disguise itself as a child, but make sure to note that it's a speechless child. This is a Pokédex entry for Unova and Zorua, but I assume the illusion abilities between the two are pretty similar. There was also an event in Pokemon Black and White where we could meet a lost speechless child as was described, who himself turns out to be a Zorua. And of course the times we've seen Zorua in the anime disguise itself as humans as it did with Dawn and Iris, it never spoke human speech and instead made the usual Zorua noises that sound a lot like its in-game cry. In some examples it even looks like there's an imperfection in the illusions Zorua can create, possibly because it's a young basic Pokemon. Meanwhile, there's a hiker we can speak and interact with in Generation 5 who does turn out to be a Zoroark. It also gives more evidence to the long-standing theory of N actually being a Zoroark the whole time. This is a theory that kind of goes based off of the fact that N is able to understand Pokemon and is very different from other humans, as well as the fact that there's a Zoroark in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 that leads us into the old Team Plasma Castle. Again, this is a theory that's been around for a while and I don't necessarily believe it specifically, but I would say that it is definitely possible, especially after what we've seen throughout the years, and even more so with what we've seen in Legends Arceus. The more I think about what the storyline of this game was trying to do, that being showing how people and Pokemon can come together and coexist, the more I kind of accepted the Zorua quest in the Daybreak update as being nothing more than a harmless prank. I think that in the post-game of Pokemon Legends Arceus, the wild Pokemon might have learned to come to trust the humans a little more, so much so that rather than trying to inflict actual harm on them, they're just pranking them out of some food. I definitely still would have loved if we got another quest as part of the base game that saw us encountering these Pokemon as actually being baneful as they're described in the Pokédex. But the reveal trailer for these Pokemon was enough. cause like I'm pretty sure that guy's dead. And it was also great that we got to see the Hisuian Snow Web series to even better appreciate these Pokemon. And that's really one of my big takeaways from last year. I really do like Hisuian Zorua and Zoroark. I recently pulled the gorgeous V-Star full art and put up the Lost Origin poster for my backdrop, so I'm just really getting to appreciate these Pokemon now. And like I said, I really did like Hisuian Snow. I did a review of it if by chance you haven't watched it. And it is taking a lot of self-control to not buy the shiny Hisuian Zorua plush. It's just so amazing. But hey, maybe my love of these Pokemon is a little misplaced. Who knows, they could just be trying to trick me out of even more mushroom cakes. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the great Gators, Cheeseburger Lasers, Gavnuts, Justin R, Cosmo Zero, Michaela, Mr. Pig Puncher, Phantom Pyro, Quago, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would like to support, get your name shouted out here as well as access to emotes and comments, live streams, and some early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well, but anyway, this has been GatorEX, and I'll catch you all later.
Yeah! Oh my gosh.
You have to sneak up carefully and catch a Pokemon.
Okay, let's try this again.
Gotcha! Wanna be a legend? Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh, Zorua, it's you!